Hey, what's up, sports fans? Sorry it's been a while. Been meaning to do an NFL draft recap, but I've only got to do it before the season starts, so we still got plenty of time there. Started off as a pretty boring draft. We had no one touched the ball until the eighth pick. We got a receiver, Drake London, who most people didn't think would be the first receiver taken. I'm mostly going to focus on my Giants, who made huge splashes at picks 5 and 7. So let's break it down pick by pick. First pick, Trayvon Walker. Leading up to the draft, people kind of thought that's what was going to happen, but a lot of draft pundits still didn't love the pick. Looking at his tape, he is a player who is like what we want today, someone who can do everything. He's not necessarily as good of a pass rusher as Aiden Hutchinson or Kayvon Thibodeau, but he can do everything. He can drop back into coverage. He is more athletic. He's a workout warrior. He's by all means, by all what they say, he's a great guy. Both him and Kayvon have business aspirations, which apparently for Kayvon is a knock, but for Trayvon is a plus. I'm not sure how that works out. But his numbers were suspect on a Georgia team loaded with like four people who went in the first round. So if I'm them, I'd probably trade out of 1-1 or take Aiden or Kayvon. The late riser can be suspect, but if you're starting fresh, he's a Swiss Army knife. You can move all over. So he's an exciting player. Aiden Hutchinson at 2. Nothing really to talk about there. He literally played at Michigan. It's Detroit. Dan Campbell loves those high motor players. He's high motor, lots of production, set in stone. 3, Derek Stingley over Sauce Gardner. That one's a huge surprise. Stingley did have the higher pedigree. He's like one of the top recruits ever out of high school. But then once it gets to draft day, he had a terrific freshman year, and he's had suspect seasons the past 2 seasons. Sauce Gardner never allowed a touchdown in college, is taller and faster. So most people had Sauce as number 1 corner. I wanted the Giants to get Sauce. So when Stingley went 3, I was praying Sauce would be there at 4. He ended up in New York, but with the Jets, who had, by the way, like the best draft in the history of drafts. So then Sauce goes 4. I was banging the table at 5 for the Giants to get Kayvon. They came through. Before this past season started, everyone expected Kayvon to be the first overall pick. He had a minor injury, missed 2.5 games. If he hadn't missed those 2.5 games, he actually still could have gone first overall. He had a good season. No one really knocked his play. They said he sometimes didn't finish plays, but these are kids in college. So he's got talent through the roof. I'm extremely excited the Giants got him. He seems, as I said, he's got business aspirations. He seems like the kind of guy who's going to shine in New York, not hide from the lights. So, and then pick 6, I really wanted the Giants to get Evan Neal, not Ike Ekwonu. He's more of a run blocker, which is exciting, but you can't necessarily predict someone's going to become a pass protector. The Giants have never protected Daniel Jones. So they took Icky, which left Evan Neal, all 6'7.5", 350 of him, to fall to the Giants. If you look him up, there's a scary video of him jumping up and doing like a box jump where he splits his legs. He can jump like 30 inches in the air and split his legs, which is, he's got, there's someone who does a Freaks of the Year, and they named him actually the number 1 freak. So most athletic dude. A lot of drafts had him going 1-1 overall to protect Trevor Lawrence. So Giants got 2 dudes who were projected before this process to go first overall at 5 and 7. Going from there forward, I was like, oh my God, this is heaven. Doesn't get any better. Just going a little farther. So the next pick, Drake London went 8th, the first receiver off the board of the Falcons. I didn't love that. I don't think Mariota and him are a super exciting combo. Drake London is someone who is going to win those contested catches. And, if you look back at people who have been contested pass catchers from college recently, you've got N'Keal Harry, you've got J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. There's just a bunch of dudes who they didn't really separate as much, and they dominated in college, not in the NFL. People who have really separated, like someone more like a Chris Olave, that's the kind of production in college that's really been translating to the pros. So not knocking Drake London, but a type of player like that needs a quarterback to put it exactly where he is, like a Mike Evans. Mike Evans has Tom Brady putting the ball exactly where it's going to be. I'm not sure Marcus Mariota is that guy. I like Marcus Mariota more than the average person. I just don't think him and Drake London is a great pairing. That being said, Marcus Mariota is also not the quarterback of the future. Next year is a much better quarterback class. So if the Falcons suck again, get a new quarterback, Drake London is a much tougher talent to find than a Chris Olave or Jameson Williams because he is in that 6'4", 6'5" range and can move well. You get Chris Olave, Jameson Williams, Garrett Wilson. Those guys they come around all the time. I mean, they are very talented, but you can find people like that. Whereas you're not going to find your Mike Evans and your Drake Londons very often. So if the Falcons are sure that's their guy, that's their guy. I'm okay with the pick. Moving on, Charles Cross at number 9. A lot of people have said the Giants were going to get him at 5 or 7, and I am so glad they didn't. Size isn't everything, but at tackle it really is. If you think of the best tackles ever, the Orlando Paces, Jonathan Ogdens, Andrew Whitworth, those dudes are all ginormous. And Charles Cross is like 6'4", 310. So he's not small. He could be great, just not someone I wanted at 5 or 7. Could be great for the Seahawks. I'm glad they didn't overdraft a quarterback. Who knows? Drew Lock could do well. And they drafted another tackle in the 2nd round. So that could work out great for them. If I'm them and I wanted Cross, though, I probably would have traded down. But it could work out for them. So let's, as I mentioned, the Giants at 5 and 7 absolutely killed it. Let's look at the rest of their draft, which is not quite as killer. So their next pick was 36. And they did what they never used to do under Gettleman, which they did, and I loved it. They traded 36, and they traded it down to 38 to the Falcons, who took an edge rusher. So at 38, they could have gotten... So they had James Bradberry on their roster at the time. Everyone said he was going to be gone. If James Bradberry is going to be gone, they need a corner. If they don't get rid of Bradberry, then they have Bradberry. They have a very talented player from Tennessee. Why am I blanking on his name? Super athletic. This is embarrassing. Been living in mold. Maybe that's why. Adoree Jackson. Very talented. More of a cornerback number 2, though. So if you got Bradberry, Adoree Jackson, and we've drafted a bunch of slot corners over the years, then we're set. But if Bradberry's gone, all of a sudden Adoree Jackson is our number 1 corner. Lo and behold, James Bradberry has now been released, and we don't have a number 1 corner. So at pick 38, they could have gotten Kyler Gordon, very athletic corner who's compared to Byron Jones, and he went to University of Washington, which he produced a lot of good corners recently. Anyone who's compared to Byron Jones, I want that dude on my team. Byron Jones lit up the combine a few years ago with an amazing vertical leap and broad jump, is a good corner and safety, signed like the richest cornerback contract at the time for the Dolphins, and has been a solid pro his entire career. And then there's also another dude available with Andrew Booth Jr. from Clemson, who is famous for a diving one-handed like Odell Beckham reaching out interception, and is just very athletic. He's like 6'1", 6'2", runs well, and again, his tape, he makes catches look like a receiver. Kind of dude I want on my team. The knocks on Booth are he's not super physical as a tackler, and I think it said he doesn't have the best hands, right? No, he has pain and swelling in his knee. So, maybe that actually, it could be a problem, but I still would want the Giants to take a risk on him. Interesting, he's a taller dude. The pick was actually Janoris Jenkins. The comp was actually Janoris Jenkins, which shows he's a scrappy player. And again, the kind of dude I want on my team. So they're both available at 38. After trading down from 36 to 38, they traded down again from 38 to 43. And sorry, I got that wrong. The Giants had 36, traded that to the Jets, and the Jets took Breece Hall at 36. And then from 38, traded down to 43 with the Falcons. And then at 43, Kyler Gordon went 39, and Booth Jr. went the pick before at 42. So, very disappointing. And then, the exciting part, who are they going to get? So, let's see. At 43, who was available? We have, who everyone was saying they should get, Nakobe Dean. There's David Ojabo. Tore his Achilles during his pro day, but very athletic edge rusher. Some people say he's going to have a better pass rushing career than his opposing edge rusher, Aiden Hutchinson. There was a safety, Jaquan Brisker, 6'1.5", 200 pounds, 89.5 coverage grade on PFF this past year, and he wears number 1. That's swaggy. I love that. Ran a 4.49 40, 6'4" wingspan. Could have been a good Jabril replacement. We lost Jabril Peppers. His comp is Harrison Smith. Dude, I would love to have. Cam Jurgens at 51 was a tight end, running back, and cornerback. And that can't be right. Tight end, running back, and linebacker in high school. So he's very twitched up for a lineman, which some people don't love, but I love athletic linemen. If you're going to run the ball all day, you want someone who can keep up with the reps. That would have been exciting. And then Alontae Taylor was taken by the Saints. They've been good at drafting defensive backs these past years. 6'2" cornerback from Tennessee. Press corner. Could have worked. They took, drum roll please, can't even say it, Wendell Robinson. Unknown receiver from Kentucky, who's, by the way, tape is awesome. He looks like a fun player, but he's a 5'8" slot receiver who most people had going around pick 100. At this time, the Giants, people were saying they might be getting rid of Kadarius Toney. So he seems a Kadarius Toney replacement. Lo and behold, Kadarius Toney is still on the team. So now we have Kenny Golladay, big dude. Kadarius Toney, 5'11". Not sure if he's outside or inside. Sterling Shepard, smaller dude, slot receiver. Wendell, smaller dude, slot receiver. And Darius Slayton, outside. So you have two full-time outside receivers in Slayton and Golladay. Galladay's always hurt. So if Golladay gets hurt, then that leaves us with Slayton and three smaller dudes. So if they are going to draft a receiver, then they could have gotten people like Velus Jones. Who else was there? George Pickens, as I said, was there. George Pickens is 6'3" and very talented. His issue is maybe little attitude problems. But I know Toney has that, but that would be a much more exciting pick for me. Or again, we already traded down twice. Trade down again. If you're going to get someone who's going around pick 100, please don't get that dude. So, if it was up to me. And also, of course, the biggest fall of the draft, the quarterback out of Liberty, my boy Malik. That could have been great. And he fell later, so people were saying that's not a good pick. So wasn't the pick at 42 or 43. So moving on, Giants' next pick is at 67, and they took another dude no one had really heard of, Joshua Ezeudu. 6'4", 305 guard, used to play some tackle at UNC, actually moves well. A lot of people do like the pick, but again, he was supposed to go around pick 125, 150, and this is 67. The very next pick, Martin Emerson, a 6'2" corner from Mississippi State. His biggest knocks are hands and tackling. If a corner can't catch the ball or catch the ball, first of all, that's why they play corner, because otherwise they play receiver if they're 6'2", and can't tackle, you can teach tackling. You can't teach coverage. So he's 6'2", he moves well, and he can cover. I want that dude on the team. Then at 70, Chad Muma went, and he's an inside linebacker that everyone loves, super gritty, seems like a Giants-type player. 71, Velus Jones Jr. is actually the cousin of Cordell Flott, who the Giants ended up taking later. And then at 73 would have been a really exciting pick, Jelani Woods. 6'7" tight end, uber athletic, seen as more of a project, but the Giants do have Ricky Seals-Jones at the moment, so that would have been a perfect time to take Jelani Woods, have him learn a little bit, and then you got a tight end of the future. And then also at 79, another JT Woods, 6'2" safety, 4.36 40, 39.5-inch vert, 12-foot broad jump. That can't be right. 128-inch broad jump, 10 feet 8 inches, and he had 9 interceptions his last 2 years. So that, again, is someone a lot more exciting than Joshua Ezeudu. I'm also a firm believer in elite tackles, a smart center, and just plug in any two dudes at guard. You don't hear about teams winning the Super Bowl with super elite talented line. It's just about being consistent. So if Ezeudu is that consistent guy, don't get me wrong, I like that, but I do believe you can find consistent guard play in the 3rd and 4th round. So at 67, don't love that pick. Our next pick is at 81, and Nakobe Dean is still available, and so is Malik. So either one of those two should be the pick. That's it. Conversation over. Malik was talked about going 2nd overall. Dude's compared to Josh Allen. Josh Allen's like the toolsiest player of all time. If I had to mention a quarterback in terms of tools plus intellect, I'd say the two toolsiest plus intellect quarterbacks of all time are Josh Allen and Andrew Luck. People forget just how amazing Luck was. Luck's one of the few players ever like Peyton Manning, who no one ever doubted he was the 1st overall pick. Suck for Luck. Dude was 6'4", 230, had the same 40 time as Cam Newton. So Luck was an absolute freak on the field and on the chalkboard, where he was a wizard, went to Stanford, and was like smarter than everyone at Stanford. So I would say Luck and Josh Allen are like the toolsiest plus smartest quarterbacks of all time. And I also love Josh Allen, so of course I would say that. But if you're comparing Malik to Josh Allen, I know he's not 6'5", but he's got a laser arm. He can run. He's apparently a super hard worker. So what if he can't read defenses yet? Josh Allen couldn't read defenses apparently when he came into the league, and he had just amazing improvement. They say quarterbacks don't improve that much, but he doesn't need to he doesn't need to improve as much as Josh Allen to be a lot better than Daniel Jones. And again, Daniel Jones is one of those guys I like more than the average person, but he's still not what you're looking for in a quarterback, and we didn't even give him his fifth-year option. So if we didn't give him his fifth-year option, that means we're looking for a new quarterback. That being said, if we give him this year and he kills it, well, actually, then we're not going to be able to afford him. But if we give him this year and he kills it, then it all worked out. And if we give him this year and he sucks, then next year is a better quarterback draft. But again, this is the 81st pick in the draft. That's not a big investment. I really do think it'd be a good call to get Malik. If Daniel Jones sucks and we get a top 10 pick, we could still have Malik and take another quarterback, because wasting a third-round pick on a quarterback with the ceiling up there is just a really good idea. And then Nakobe Dean was the leader of that same Georgia defense that had all those dudes. So if this guy was the leader of the defense, probably a smart pick. And the knock on him was he needed pectoral surgery. I can't think of like a less important part of the body to have an injury. Anything knee and below is scary, because if you get hit there, you're walking on it and it keeps happening. You know, neck involves all movements. Hands, every time you go for blocks, break a block, you're using your hands. That's scary. Pectoral? I've never heard of like a reoccurring pectoral injury like that. And he elected not to get surgery, which people didn't like. I think your pectoral can heal just fine. So Nakobe Dean, I think, would have been the smartest pick. Malik would have been the coolest pick. Matt Corral, who was some people's quarterback number 1 in the draft, actually went 94. He was available. And we took Cordell Flott, cornerback from LSU. When Stingley was not playing, Cordell Flott just got torn apart on multiple occasions. Again, that being said, he is Velus Jones Jr.'s cousin. So you have two dudes who were taken in the draft, who, by the way, actually both they said were reaches, which is funny. But I do like that. I do like players with their background shows that they are just athletes in general. So it's not that I hate the Cordell Flott pick about him as a person. It's more just who was available at the time. And again, people said it was a reach. So if you don't want Dean, you don't want Malik, you don't want Corral, trade down a couple picks and get Flott in a couple picks. So that's pick 81. We go down to pick 112. We got a tight end, Daniel Bellinger, out of San Diego State. Actually, for once, totally fine with the pick. They actually compare him to a less athletic Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox is unbelievably athletic, so slightly a bit less athletic is not a big deal. And they say he's a bit of a grinder. He's not quite, he doesn't hold his blocks quite long enough, but you get him an NFL weight room, and that could be a little better. There's really no one at this point that I think is like a much better pick than him. That being said, I would have rather they take a tight end earlier, because having a bunch of middling tight ends is what we've been doing over the years. And with a younger quarterback, they do like having that surefire tight end. So also, Greg Dulcich went around 80. So instead of Joshua Ezeudu or Cordell Flott, actually Dulcich might have been the pick before Flott. So again, we could have traded down at 67 if we wanted Dulcich, or we could have traded up from Flott, or we could have gotten Jelani Woods at 73. I would have liked a little more sure of a tight end prospect, but Daniel Bellinger is not a bad pick. And then 112, by the way, both these were acquired from the trading down we got. 114 was Dane Belton out of Iowa. Solid Jabril Peppers replacement. So again, no knock there. Isaiah Spiller was available. Running back, a lot of people said he was the third best running back available, and Saquon has been hurt, and we have a bunch of plotters behind him. So that actually might have been a little more exciting. But the safety was a big need. So then we go to 146, Micah McFadden, which is another one of the picks. Actually, let me clarify that. 36 to 38, we got this 146, and 38 down to 43, we got 114, which is Dane Belton. So we already had the Daniel Bellinger pick. We acquired Belton, and we acquired 146, Micah McFadden, middle linebacker from Indiana. If you've heard of RAS, it's like a combination of all the athlete profiling. It's out of 10 points. He got like a 9.2. So apparently dude is very athletic, probably more athletic than Blake Martinez. People like the pick, so that could be good out of Indiana. But we do have some bigger needs. We have Blake Martinez, and this is pick 146, and then at pick 147, we took DJ Davidson, a nose tackle out of ASU, who's more of a developmental pick and doesn't really have much of a pass rushing future. And we always have big dudes, so that's not that exciting for us. I do like both those players from what I've read and seen on them, but there were some players I would have much rather had. 153 overall, just 6 or 7 picks later, is Tariq Woolen, a converted receiver. 6'4", ran a 4.26 40, and was drafted by the Seahawks. The Seahawks are kings of developing defensive backs who press. So if you ran a 4.26, he's 6'4", and he can press. That's the guy we should have taken. We don't have any corners in the building, especially now that Bradbury's gone. I would have loved to have that. And then also, Sam Howell went actually at 144, so 2 picks before McFadden. But when we saw he was there with the first pick in the 5th round, we should have traded up to get him if we weren't going to get a quarterback. Again, even if we want to get a quarterback next year if Jones sucks, Sam Howell at one point was supposed to be the first overall pick in the draft. So to get him at the end of the 4th is a steal and a half. That would have been great. If you look at some of his numbers, he had a 38-7 TD interception ratio as a freshman. Trevor Lawrence was 36-8, so better than Trevor Lawrence as a freshman. Pickett was 13-9, so better than the 20th overall pick in Pickett. He lowered his, he wasn't quite as splashy as a sophomore, but he increased his completion percentage up to 68%. The team was 2-9 before he got there. He turned up into a successful team. And then after his sophomore year, Javonte Williams, Michael Carter, Daz Newsome, Diami Brown all leave for the 2021 draft. His 2021 season is terrible. They ask him to become more of a runner. Here's his rushing stats. First year, 35 rushing yards. Second year, 146. Third year, 828. So this is a guy who wants to be a pocket passer. They ask him to be a runner. He does it. So he's willing to do whatever the team asks, even though it plummets his draft stock. So if he'd played in a professional offense, again, his 3rd year, he would have gone much higher in the 5th round. That would have been an amazing pick. So really unfortunate to see that. And then year 3, so the percentages went 61.4, 68.1, and then 62.5. So his junior year, his completion percentage was still better than his epic freshman year, where people were so excited about. Still had a better completion percentage. Still had a 24-9 touchdown to interception ratio, which is not that bad, plus the 828 rushing yards. So that does not warrant an epic fall. Dude should have gone in probably like late 3rd round, early 4th, not first overall in the 5th round. So yeah, that's who I would have taken with those two over Micah McFadden and DJ Davidson, especially Davidson. McFadden does seem like an impact player, but the DJ Davidson, I would have much rather had Tariq Woolen, or again, trade up to get Sam Howell. Then at 173, we got a pick I actually love. Marcus McKeithen, 6'6.5", 340-pound guard out of UNC. And here's what I'm talking about. Just some dude you can get in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round, plug him in there, have him there for a couple years, and he learns to gel with the offensive line, which is the most important thing, consistency. So if you take in the fact that we had our sights on someone in the late rounds like Marcus McKeithen, that shows even more that the Joshua Ezeudu pick was not that important. So 67, we could have gotten Jelani Woods at tight end, which then would have freed us up at 112 not to draft Daniel Bellinger. We could have gotten Isaiah Spiller, or trade down and get Sam Howell, or we could have traded down and gotten McFadden again, and then or trade down and get Howell, and then we could have gotten McFadden or Woolen at the 147 pick where we got DJ Davidson. So Marcus McKeithen at 173, I do love that. And then our last pick, 182, Darian Beavers. Not a huge fan. 6'4", 230 box linebacker. That is fun, and a guy who can hit and intimidate. We do have to play against Ezekiel Elliott, Antonio Gibson, Miles Sanders. So that's not bad. A.J. Brown's down in the division, who is going to be around, running around, so it's nice to have someone hit him. But since we have Blake Martinez and McFadden, it would be more exciting to get maybe an edge player. 7 picks later, Amare Barno, 6'5", 240 pounds, ran a 4.36 40. And used to be a middle linebacker, so he has instincts. This kind of guy you can move around. He needs a lot of work on his actual pass rushing skills, but you can't find those type of talents at the 182nd pick. They definitely should have pulled the trigger on Amare Barno. And they also got Speedy Naylor, receiver named Speedy, obviously is fast, and he's actually a deep threat. He's 5'11", he's always injured, but so are all the Giants receivers. So he's probably more of a 4th-round talent who's available this late because of his injuries. Again, if you don't get the Kentucky product in the 2nd round, you can get someone like Speedy in the 6th round later. And now knowing that we didn't even need a receiver because we have Golladay, Slayton, Kadarius, and Sterling Shepard. So receiver wasn't even really need. Doesn't make sense to get one in the second round. And yeah, that's pretty much the gist of our draft. One thing I forgot to mention about Travon Walker, I wish I had that like PTI thing about like someone calling out all the errors. Josh Allen, not my Josh Allen, but Josh Allen, the Jaguars, had 10 sacks his rookie with Calais Campbell playing beside him. Then he had 10 sacks in the next 24 games without. So it's quite possible that Travon Walker is going to make it so people can't double team Josh Allen, and even if Travon doesn't get those gaudy sack numbers, his presence is going to free up Josh Allen. And then they also traded back up and got Devin Lloyd. So I do really like that now. You got Josh Allen and Travon on the edges, and then Devin Lloyd behind them. That's pretty exciting in my opinion. The Jets had one of the most exciting drafts of all time. So at 4, they lucked out and got Sauce Gardner. Then they had the 10th pick, and they got Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State. Now, if I were them, I would have taken Jameson Williams because I do believe he's more talented than both Olave and Garrett Wilson. He is injured coming off a torn ACL, but the Jets, I know their draft was amazing, but the Jets suck. So they're not playing for right now. They're playing for the future, someone to develop with Zach Wilson. So I would have gotten him the premier talent. That being said, maybe you want Zach Wilson to have confidence from game 1, so maybe that's why they got Garrett Wilson. I would have taken Jameson Williams, but Garrett Wilson's a fine pick. Then people had Jermaine Johnson ranked somewhere in the 9 to 15 range. I saw one weirdo who actually had him as the number 1 overall player in the draft, which I think is ridiculous. But anyways, the Jets traded back up to 26 and got Jermaine Johnson. So they got an edge rusher for Robert Saleh and his defense, and then they trade with the Giants at 36 and get Breece Hall. So now Zach Wilson has a full stable. He's got Breece Hall behind him as a running back. He's still got Michael Carter, who, when he left UNC, Sam Howell's life fell apart. And then as receivers, he's got Garrett Wilson, he's got Corey Davis, and he's got Elijah Moore. So I think the Jets did a really good job there, and it's super weird to say the Jets did a good job. The Texans, weird as always. So at 3, they take Stingley over Sauce. I'm not going to act like I know everything about defensive players. Stingley was a highly touted prospect. LSU players often do well. You know, Cordell Flott could do well. Stingley could do well. But I would have taken, and a lot of people would have taken Sauce Gardner. And then at 15, they had the first weird pick of the draft, in my opinion. I thought teams are getting better at making good selections. At 15, they took a guard. You know how I feel about guards who aren't like Zach Martin? Unless it's Zach Martin and it's a household name and everyone's like, this is the guy. I think you probably don't want to take a guard at 15. So very next pick at 16, Jahan Dotson, who a lot of people said has the surest hands in the draft. Speedster, who went to the Washington Commanders. Still sounds weird to say that. Texans don't have anyone on offense. They have Davis Mills at quarterback. They have fucking Marlon Mack at running back. Like, so washed. And they do have Brandon Cooks, the most underrated player of all time. He's the only player ever to have 1,000 yards in 3 consecutive years for 3 different teams. Don't even know how that's possible. How do you keep getting traded if you're that good? Dude always puts up numbers no matter where he is. I do like Brandon Cooks, but besides that, the team has absolutely nobody. So they could have gotten Dotson at 16. Treylon Burks, who people compared to Debo and A.J. Brown, who the Titans literally traded A.J. Brown to replace with Treylon Burks, was available at 18. Texans could have gotten him. Trevor Penning, 6'7" tackle who went to the Saints, and the Saints are like the best at drafting tackles ever. They got Ryan Ramczyk. Everyone's like, who is that? And Ramczyk's like top 5 tackle in the league. They got Terron Armstead. Everyone's like, who is that? Super good. And now they couldn't afford him, so he went to the Dolphins. They lose Terron Armstead, and they replace him with the 6'7" Trevor Penning. So I trust the Saints that Trevor Penning is good, and that the Texans should have gotten him. Then they would have had Laremy Tunsil on one side, Trevor Penning on the other side. That's how you build teams, elite tackles. That would have been good. Also, since they got Stingley, Lovie Smith's defense likes good corners. They could have gotten Trent McDuffie, who a lot of people liked. The one knock on him is maybe he's a little too short to be a number 1 corner at 5'10", but everyone says he's a baller. He's got all the traits you're looking for. He sticks to the receiver, and he went to the Chiefs, who know what they're doing. So he went to the Chiefs at 21. If you paired him with Stingley, again, just like pairing Penning with Tunsil, if you pair McDuffie and Stingley, that makes the Texans actually someone you don't really want to play. It's become a passing league. Having those good corners, I think, would be way more intimidating than having Kenyon Green at guard. And then that brings me to one of the most exciting parts of the draft for me, A.J. Brown for the 18th overall pick to the Eagles. So drafting is not in a vacuum. I'm a New York Giants fan. Giants fans are impatient. If you play in a big city, your team needs to win now. So I do understand the Eagles trading the 18th overall pick for A.J. Brown. I don't like it, though, because then they had to give him a 4-year, $100 million deal. If it's up to me, I'm paying quarterbacks, cornerbacks, and offensive tackles, because I do believe those positions have the highest VORP, value over replacement. You look at this draft, all these rookie receivers, Chris Olave, Jameson Williams, Drake London, Jahan Dotson, Treylon Burks. You can draft elite receivers. And even if they're not super elite, you played 3 or 4 receivers at the same time. So if he's not as good as you expect, you still have other dudes there who are distracting from them. Tackles, quarterbacks, cornerbacks. If they're not doing their job, you lose. If tackles are letting pass rushers in, ask the Giants. Your quarterback gets hit, you lose. If cornerbacks aren't guarding the receivers, you lose. So I don't like paying A.J. Brown the big money, except again, it does make life easier for Jalen Hurts, and you don't want Philly fans booing him. I love what the Titans did here. So they save money to pay a quarterback, and they already paid Derrick Henry, which a lot of people don't love, but I think Derrick Henry is a generational talent, and you are paying him less than you would pay A.J. Brown. Plus, you replaced him with Treylon Burks, who's very similar to A.J. Brown. You can't draft someone like Derrick Henry in the draft. So I love what the Titans did. Don't love what the Eagles did, but again, it's tough for the Eagles because your fan base is awful. Not saying that because I'm a Giants fan, I'm saying that because they're just super impatient. But I do love the Eagles took Jordan Davis at 13. That's one of the scariest dudes in the draft. So that actually makes up for the A.J. Brown stuff. Plus, they had 1 million draft picks and traded with the Saints, so they have another extra first next year. So overall, the Eagles did do a good job. They do have extra draft capital, so it's a luxury to be able to trade for A.J. Brown, and that makes their offense a lot scarier. Now they have Dallas Goedert at tight end, A.J. Brown on one side, former Heisman winner on the other, Miles Sanders in the backfield, Jalen Hurts, and one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. Jordan Mailata, left tackle, former rugby player, super athletic. Lane Johnson, right tackle, one of the best right tackles in the game. And in the center, we got Jason Kelce, who's, again, like I was talking about Cam Jurgens, that twitched up center. If your brother Travis Kelce can run all over the world, I'm pretty sure Jason's pretty athletic too. So those three make a really strong foundation. And now you've got A.J. Brown mixed in as well. I think that's a really kind of a fearsome offense. So again, I wouldn't have made the trade, but it probably made Philly fans happy, probably made Jalen Hurts happy, so it works in the end. But overall, the draft was really fun. The Chiefs killed it since they had no real needs. They were just taking the best player available. They got McDuffie at 21, so now they have another cornerback to stop Josh Allen. They got George Karlaftis or Lofkowskis at 30, so they got another player to chase Josh Allen. And somehow Sky Moore fell to them at like 54 or 60, which is another player I forgot the Giants could have taken at 42, 43. They could have gotten Sky Moore, who everyone loves. They say he's super sure-handed, super tough guy. He can be a deep threat. I'd also heard of him, had no idea who Wendell Robinson was, so Sky Moore would have been a much better pick there too. The Chiefs always do a great job, and when like you're eyeing a guy, and then like the Chiefs, the Patriots take him, you're like, crap, they should have gotten him. Speaking of team who always does a good job, the Ravens. Ravens traded 23rd overall pick got the 23rd overall pick for Hollywood Brown, then traded down to 25 and still got their dude, a center in Travis Lindenbaum, who everyone really likes. And they'd lost their center, and they run the ball every other play, more than that. So they needed a center. And then at 14, I guess, they got Kyle Hamilton, who a lot of people said actually, Cynthia Frelund, I believe it was, is the like analytic expert. Lots of, does number crunching and does all these projection, or she has she created her own tool which like projects players. Her and someone else, both their favorite player in the entire draft is Kyle Hamilton. He's comped to Sean Taylor. Rest in peace to my boy. That's like, nothing's more exciting to me than someone being compared to Sean Taylor. So he's 6'4", 230, kind of like a box linebacker, safety hybrid, and he's a Mensa. He's got an IQ over 180. So he's tall, he hits, he's smart, he runs all over the field. People are disappointed he ran a 4.55 40. 4.55 is still not slow for someone who's 6'4", 230. That's like Mike Evans' speed, and he's almost Mike Evans' size. And by the way, they say his game tape is a lot faster than that. So the Ravens are one of those teams who always get dudes that you're like, crap, I wish our team had gotten that. And yes, I was hoping the Giants would trade down from 7 and get Kyle Hamilton to replace Jabril Peppers. So Ravens always do a great job. I actually was kind of expecting the Ravens or Steelers to get Malik when he started falling, because they're those teams, well, not the Steelers, because they got Kenny Pickett, but I thought that would be really fun with the Lamar Jackson contract negotiations, drafting Malik. I think that would have been really fun, but he went to the Titans. Same thing with Ryan Tannehill. You can learn from Ryan Tannehill, who people actually forget is very athletic. He was a converted receiver in college, so it's a perfect person for him to learn behind. If Tannehill kills it, they can give him that contract because they didn't sign A.J. Brown. If not, trade Tannehill, and then they've got their quarterback in the future. So I think the Titans did a really good job in the draft, and actually, I think most teams are doing a lot better job in the draft. It's getting better and better every year. Hopefully, one of these few years, I'll be helping teams make good selections. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.